I pulled into my in-laws' driveway 2 hours earlier than expected on Christmas Eve, and what I heard through that kitchen window destroyed 11 years of marriage in less than 60 seconds. My name is Ryan Mitchell, and this is the story of how my wife's Christmas confession turned into the most savage revenge I never saw coming. The snow was falling heavy that December evening, making the drive from my office to the Henderson family home slower than usual. I'd finished my quarterly reports early, something my boss hadn't expected when he'd given me the deadline extension. 3 hours of freedom before the annual Henderson Christmas party. 3 hours I decided to spend surprising my wife Emma instead of sitting in holiday traffic. The Henderson house looked like something out of a Christmas movie. White lights wrapped around every column, wreaths on every window, and that massive Douglas fir visible through the bay window that Emma's mother Patricia insisted on decorating the day after. Thanksgiving every single year. I could hear music and laughter from inside as I parked on the street, leaving the driveway clear for other guests who'd be arriving soon. I grabbed the wine I'd picked up, expensive stuff that Patricia would pretend to appreciate while secretly wishing I'd brought the cheap brand she actually preferred, and headed toward the front door. That's when I heard Emma's voice coming from the open kitchen window, loud and clear over the Christmas music. "I'm 3 weeks pregnant with my boss's baby. Derek's about to be a father and he doesn't even know it yet." I froze on the walkway, snow collecting on my shoulders, that bottle of wine suddenly weighing 1,000 pounds in my hands. Patricia's voice responded, delighted and conspiratorial. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful news. Derek's such a good man, so successful. Much better than Ryan ever was." "Mom, you have no idea." Emma laughed, the kind of laugh I used to love hearing but now sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "Derek makes more in bonuses than Ryan makes in a year. And he actually has ambition, you know? He's going places. Ryan's been stuck at the same company for 8 years doing the same boring finance work." "I never understood what you saw in Ryan anyway," Patricia continued. "Such a plain man, no real prospects. But Derek, now he's the kind of son-in-law I always wanted." My hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from the pure rage building in my chest. 11 years. We'd been married for 11 years, together for 13. And she was standing in her mother's kitchen on Christmas Eve, casually discussing her affair and pregnancy like she was talking about the weather. "When are you going to tell Ryan?" Patricia asked. "After the holidays," Emma said. "I'll file for divorce in January. Derek and I have it all planned out. I'll take the house, obviously. Ryan won't fight me on it. He never fights for anything." I backed away from that window slowly, quietly, like I was retreating from a crime scene. Which I guess I was, in a way. The crime of my marriage. The murder of everything I thought was real. I got back in my car, set that expensive wine on the passenger seat, and just sat there for a moment. The snow kept falling. The Christmas lights kept twinkling. Inside that house, my wife and mother-in-law kept planning my destruction, while probably sampling Patricia's famous eggnog. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't punch the steering wheel like they do in movies. Instead, I started my car, pulled out my phone, and made 3 calls that would change everything. The first call was to my lawyer, David Brenner. We'd gone to college together, and he owed me a favor from when I'd helped him restructure his practice's finances 5 years ago. "Ryan, Merry Christmas," David answered, sounding relaxed and slightly buzzed. "What's up?" "I need you to file divorce papers immediately," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "My wife's pregnant, with another man's child, and I just overheard her planning to divorce me in January." The relaxed tone vanished. "Jesus, Ryan. I'm sorry. When did you find out?" "About 5 minutes ago. Can you file before the holiday break ends?" "Courts are closed until the 27th, but I can have everything ready to file first thing that morning." "You're sure about this?" "More sure than I've ever been about anything." Before you hear what happened next, if you're finding this story valuable, please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below about a time when you discovered something that completely changed your perspective. And don't forget to like this video. Your support helps me share more stories like this one. Now, back to the moment my life split in two. The second call was to my older brother Cameron. He was a private investigator who specialized in corporate fraud, but he'd branched into domestic cases over the years. If anyone could gather evidence quickly and quietly, it was him. "Cam, I need your help," I said when he answered. "Emma's having an affair with her boss. She's pregnant. I need documentation of everything." "Damn, little brother, how long has this been going on?" No idea. But she's 3 weeks pregnant, so at least that long, probably longer. Give me the boss's name and company. I'll have a full workup by tomorrow afternoon. His name is Derek Patterson. He's VP of Operations at Stellar Dynamics. Cameron whistled. Derek Patterson? Ryan, I know that name. Let me make some calls. This might be bigger than just an affair. The third call was to Emma. I needed to play this perfectly. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and fake cheerful. Hey babe, where are you? The party's starting soon. Still stuck at the office, I lied smoothly. Johnson needed help with the final quarterly numbers. I'll probably be another 2 hours. You go ahead and enjoy the party without me. Oh, that's too bad. She didn't sound disappointed at all. Mom's making her famous prime rib. Save me a plate, I said, then hung up before she could respond. I drove to Cameron's house instead of home. He lived 40 minutes away in a downtown loft that looked like something from a spy movie, all exposed brick and high-tech computer equipment. When I arrived, he already had 3 monitors going, pulling up information about Derek Patterson. Your wife's boss is a piece of work, Cameron said, gesturing at the screens. Married for 15 years to a woman named Claire. 2 kids in private school. Member of 3 country clubs. And here's the interesting part. He's been investigated twice by HR for inappropriate relationships with subordinates. I leaned closer to the monitor. What happened with those investigations? Both were quietly settled. The company paid the women to go away. Standard corporate cover-up. But Ryan, there's more. Patterson's been embezzling from Stellar Dynamics for at least 3 years. I have a contact in their accounting department who's been documenting irregularities. How much are we talking? Conservative estimate, about $2 million. I sat down hard in Cameron's desk chair. My wife wasn't just having an affair with her boss. She was having an affair with a criminal. Can you prove it? I asked. Cameron smiled, the kind of smile that meant he was about to do something completely legal, but deliciously devastating. Give me 48 hours. I'll have enough evidence to bury this guy so deep he'll need a shovel to find daylight. I spent Christmas Day at Cameron's loft while Emma sent me increasingly annoyed text messages about missing the party. I responded with vague excuses about work emergencies and promised to make it up to her. She stopped texting around midnight. Cameron worked through the night, calling in favors from contacts across the city. By noon on Christmas Day, he had a file folder 3 inches thick with documentation of Derek Patterson's crimes. Bank statements showing unexplained deposits. Internal memos that had been deleted but recovered. Email chains discussing the HR settlements. And photographs, lots of photographs of Derek and Emma together at hotels, restaurants, even at company events where they thought nobody was watching. Your wife's been his mistress for 8 months, Cameron said, sliding the folder across his desk to me. She wasn't the first, won't be the last. This guy has a pattern. What about the pregnancy? I asked. According to her medical records, which I may have accessed through completely legal channels involving a friend at her doctor's office who owed me a favor, she's definitely pregnant. The timeline matches up with when Patterson's wife was visiting her sister in Boston for 2 weeks in November. I opened the folder and started reading. Every page was another knife in my back. Hotel receipts where Emma had signed in as Mrs. Patterson. Text messages where she called Derek Daddy and talked about their future together. Financial documents showing Derek had been moving money into an offshore account, probably planning to run when the embezzlement got discovered. What's the play? Cameron asked. I looked up at my brother. We destroy them both, completely, legally, but thoroughly. Cameron grinned. That's my little brother, so what's the plan? Over the next 2 hours, we mapped out exactly how this would unfold. Step by step, piece by piece, we built a strategy that would expose Emma and Derek while protecting me from any fallout. Step 1 was contacting Derek's wife, Claire. Cameron had her contact information, and after some debate, I decided I needed to tell her personally. She deserved to know what her husband was doing. I called her that evening. When she answered, I could hear children laughing in the background, probably playing with their Christmas presents. Mrs. Patterson, my name is Ryan Mitchell. I'm married to one of your husbands. Employees, Emma Mitchell. We need to talk about Derek. The children's laughter stopped abruptly. Claire must have moved to another room because suddenly everything was quiet. What about Derek? She asked, her voice carefully neutral. He's been having an affair with my wife. She's pregnant with his child, and there's evidence he's been embezzling from the company. Silence stretched for so long I thought she'd hung up. Finally, Claire spoke, and her voice was steel wrapped in ice. "How long have you known?" "I found out yesterday, Christmas Eve. I overheard Emma telling her mother about the pregnancy." "Can you prove any of this?" "All of it. I have documentation, photographs, financial records, everything you'd need for divorce proceedings and criminal charges." Claire laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Mr. Mitchell, I've suspected Derek of cheating for years, but the embezzling, that's news. Can you send me copies of everything?" "I can do better than that. I can arrange for you to meet with my brother, who's a private investigator. He can walk you through all the evidence and help you coordinate with law enforcement." "I'd like that very much," Claire said. "And Mr. Mitchell? Thank you for calling me. Most men wouldn't have had the courage." "Most men probably wouldn't care," I replied. "But my wife destroyed my life. I figure the least I can do is make sure Derek pays for destroying yours." We talked for another 30 minutes, coordinating our approach. Claire was smarter than I'd expected, already thinking 3 steps ahead about asset protection and custody arrangements. By the time we hung up, I actually felt sorry for Derek Patterson. He was about to get hit by a legal tsunami that he never saw coming. Step 2 was filing the divorce papers. David had them ready first thing on December 27th, and I had them served to Emma at work, at Stellar Dynamics, during a department meeting, with Derek Patterson sitting right next to her. Cameron had a contact at the company who described the scene to us later that evening. The process server walked into the conference room, called Emma's name, and handed her the envelope in front of 15 colleagues and her boss/lover. Emma had apparently gone white as a sheet, then looked at Derek with pure panic in her eyes. Derek had tried to play it cool, suggesting they take a break so Emma could handle her personal matter privately. But the damage was done. Everyone in that room knew exactly what those papers meant, and office gossip spreads faster than wildfire. Step 3 was the most satisfying. While Emma was being served with divorce papers, the FBI was serving Derek Patterson with a warrant for his arrest. Turns out Cameron's contact in accounting had been cooperating with a federal investigation into corporate fraud, and Derek's embezzlement was just one piece of a larger case. They arrested him in the parking lot as he was leaving work. Emma watched from the third-floor window of the building, still holding her divorce papers, as federal agents put her lover in handcuffs and read him his rights. Cameron sent me a photo that someone had taken. Emma standing at the window, her face pressed against the glass, mascara running down her cheeks. It was the last time I saw her cry. Step 4 involved Patricia Henderson, my former mother-in-law, who'd been so delighted about Emma's pregnancy and so dismissive of my prospects. I'd saved a special piece of revenge just for her. Patricia was a prominent member of her church, the kind of woman who organized charity events and sat on various community boards. Her reputation was everything to her. So I made sure that her priest, her book club, and every single member of those boards received anonymous packages containing transcripts of that Christmas Eve conversation I'd recorded through the kitchen window. The transcripts included Patricia's enthusiastic support of her daughter's affair, her mocking comments about me, and her complete lack of moral objection to adultery and deception. Within 48 hours, Patricia had been asked to resign from 2 boards, and her priest had scheduled a pastoral counseling session that everyone knew was church speak for, "You're in deep trouble." Emma called me exactly once after being served the divorce papers. I let it go to voicemail. "Ryan, please, we need to talk. This is insane. You're destroying my life over a misunderstanding. Call me back, please." I deleted the message without responding. She tried texting. I blocked her number. She showed up at my apartment. I'd already moved out of our house and into a temporary rental across town. When I saw her through the security camera at the front door, I called the police and reported a trespasser. They escorted her off the property with a warning about harassment. 3 weeks later, I sat in David's office reviewing the divorce settlement. Emma's lawyer had tried to fight for the house, for alimony, for a portion of my retirement accounts. David had shut down every single attempt. "The adultery clause in your prenup is ironclad," David explained, sliding papers across his desk. "She gets nothing except her personal belongings and whatever's in her individual bank account. The house stays with you. No alimony, no claims on your retirement. She walked away from this marriage with exactly what she brought into it, which was basically nothing." "What about the pregnancy?" I asked. "Not your problem. Paternity is clearly established as Derek Patterson's responsibility. He's facing 20 years in federal prison for embezzlement, so good luck collecting child support. But that's Emma's issue, not yours. I signed the papers without hesitation. 11 years of marriage ended with a pen stroke. 4 weeks after Christmas, Claire Patterson filed for divorce from Derek. She'd taken my advice and coordinated with Cameron to document everything. Derek's assets were frozen pending the criminal trial. His reputation was destroyed, and Claire got full custody of their children, with Derek getting supervised visitation only if he wasn't in prison. Emma lost her job at Stellar Dynamics. The company decided that keeping her employed after the scandal would be bad for morale. She tried to find work at other firms, but word had spread through the industry. Nobody wanted to hire the woman who'd gotten pregnant by her embezzling boss. Patricia Henderson lost her position on the church council after the transcripts went public. Her husband, Emma's father George, filed for separation 6 weeks later. Turns out he'd had no idea about Patricia's encouragement of the affair, and he considered it a betrayal of their marriage vows as well. The house of cards had collapsed, and everyone involved was buried in the rubble. 5 months after that Christmas Eve, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and found myself looking at Claire Patterson. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, smiling genuinely. "I hoped I'd run into you eventually. Can I buy you a coffee?" We sat at a corner table, and Claire told me about her new life. She'd taken Derek for everything in the divorce, using the embezzlement charges as leverage. She had the house, the cars, full custody, and enough assets to live comfortably while raising her children alone. "I wanted to thank you," Claire said. "If you hadn't called me that Christmas Day, I might still be living a lie. Derek would still be stealing from his company and cheating on me, and I'd still be the stupid wife who didn't know any better." "You were never stupid," I said. "You were trusting. There's a difference." "Maybe, but I'm not trusting anymore," she smiled. "Now I'm careful. Now I verify everything. And now I'm free." We talked for another hour, swapping stories about our respective divorces and the aftermath. Claire was funny, intelligent, and refreshingly honest about her mistakes and lessons learned. When we finally parted ways, she gave me her number. "If you ever want to grab coffee again," she said, "just as friends who survived the same disaster, I think we'd have a lot to talk about." I took the number, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. Maybe someday. 6 months after Christmas, Emma had her baby, a boy. She posted about it on social media, carefully curated photos that made single motherhood look romantic and empowering. The reality, according to Cameron's sources, was that she was living in a small apartment, working retail, and struggling to pay bills while Derek sat in federal prison awaiting trial. Patricia tried to reach out through George, asking if I'd consider dropping the harassment charges I'd filed when Emma showed up at my apartment. I had David send a formal response declining the request. 8 months after Christmas, my divorce was finalized. I celebrated by taking Cameron out for an expensive dinner at the restaurant, where Emma and I had gotten engaged 11 years earlier. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "You handled this perfectly," Cameron said, raising his glass. "Most guys would have confronted Emma immediately, maybe gotten violent, definitely would have made mistakes that could be used against them later. But you stayed calm, gathered evidence, and destroyed them systematically." "I learned from the best," I replied, clinking my glass against his. "You taught me that revenge is best served cold and legal." "Damn right," Cameron grinned. "So what's next for you?" I thought about that question. What was next? I had my house, my job, my freedom. Emma was struggling. Derek was in prison. Patricia had lost her social standing. Everyone who'd participated in betraying me had paid a price. "Next," I said finally, "I start living again. For real this time. Not for someone else's expectations or someone else's dreams. Just for me." 10 months after Christmas, I ran into Emma at a grocery store. She was pushing a stroller with one hand and juggling a shopping basket with the other. She looked tired, older than her 34 years, nothing like the confident woman who'd laughed about my lack of prospects in her mother's kitchen. She saw me before I could turn away. "Ryan." "Emma," I nodded politely, already moving past her toward the checkout. "Wait," she said. "Please, can we talk? Just for a minute?" Against my better judgment, I stopped. "What do you want, Emma?" I wanted to say I'm sorry, for everything, for the affair, for the lies, for what I said about you. I was wrong, about all of it. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no hurt, not even satisfaction at seeing how far she'd fallen. Okay, I said simply. Okay? That's it? What else do you want me to say, Emma? You made your choices. You're living with the consequences. I'm living with mine. We're done. But don't you want to know about the baby? Don't you want to see him? No, I said firmly. He's not my son. He's Derek Patterson's son. And that's your problem, not mine. I walked away and didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear Emma starting to cry, but I kept walking. That chapter of my life was closed. Time to start writing a new one. 1 year after Christmas, I got a call from Claire Patterson. We'd stayed in touch, meeting for coffee once a month to talk about life after disaster. She'd become a genuine friend, someone who understood what I'd been through because she'd been through it herself. Ryan, I have news, she said when I answered. Derek's trial ended yesterday. He got 18 years in federal prison. Good, I replied. He deserved more, but 18 is better than nothing. There's something else, Claire continued. The judge ordered him to pay restitution to the company and to all the women he'd harassed over the years. He's financially ruined. When he gets out of prison, he'll have nothing. How do you feel about that? I asked. Relieved, she said honestly. My children and I can finally move on without worrying about him interfering in our lives. He can't hurt us anymore. Then I'm happy for you, Claire. You deserve peace. So do you, she said, which is why I'm calling. My company is having a charity gala next month. I know these events aren't really your thing, but I was wondering if you'd consider being my +1, just as friends. I promise I won't make it weird. I laughed. You know what? I'd like that. Send me the details. The gala was elegant and surprisingly enjoyable. Claire was right. These events weren't usually my thing, but with her as company, the evening flew by. We danced, we laughed, and for the first time in a year, I felt like maybe I could trust someone again. As we stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights, Claire turned to me and said, "Thank you for calling me that Christmas day. You saved my life, Ryan. You really did. You saved mine, too," I replied. You showed me that not everyone is like Emma and Derek. Some people are worth trusting. Are you ready? She asked. To trust again, I mean? I thought about that question. Was I ready? Could I risk opening my heart after Emma had shattered it so completely? I don't know, I admitted. But maybe. With the right person. Someone who's been through the fire and came out stronger instead of bitter. Claire smiled. Someone like me? Someone exactly like you. We stood there for a moment, and I realized that Christmas Eve, when I'd heard Emma's confession, my life hadn't ended. It had just been redirected towards something better, something real, something worth building. 2 years after Christmas, Claire and I got married in a small ceremony with just our close friends and family. Cameron was my best man. Claire's children were our flower girl and ring bearer. It was simple, honest, and absolutely perfect. Emma sent a Facebook message asking to meet up and talk. I deleted it without responding. Patricia sent a card congratulating us, probably hoping to repair her relationship with her former son-in-law. I threw it away without opening it. Derek Patterson was still in prison and would be for another 16 years. And me? I was finally, genuinely happy. Not the fake happiness I'd convinced myself I had with Emma, but real contentment built on trust, honesty, and a partner who'd proven she could weather any storm. The best revenge, it turns out, isn't destroying the people who hurt you. It's building something so good with someone so right that the past becomes irrelevant. Emma and Patricia and Derek, they'd all paid their prices. They'd all faced their consequences. But I'd moved on to something better. And that, more than anything else, was my victory. If you found value in this story, please hit that like button and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts about betrayal and recovery. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more true stories about ordinary people overcoming extraordinary challenges. Because everyone has a moment when life splits in two. The question is, what do you build with the pieces?